My name is Khaled. I am 29 years old. I was born in Mosul, Iraq, in the heart of one of the most devastated regions by war. My father was a strict man. My mother never spoke against him. We prayed 5 times a day. We followed every rule. The Quran was our only book. The mosque was our second home. From the time I could walk, I learned one thing. We were the chosen ones. Everyone else was wrong. Christians were enemies. Jews were enemies. Anyone who didn't believe like us was an enemy. I was 7 when my father first told me about martyrdom. He said it was the highest honor. He said those who died for Allah went straight to paradise. He said they had 72 virgins waiting for them. He said they never felt pain. My older brother Omar was my hero. He was strong. He was brave. He taught me how to fight. He taught me how to hate properly. He said hate was a weapon. He said we needed to keep it sharp. At school, we learned the same things. Our teacher had scars on his hands from fighting Americans. He told us stories about jihad. He told us stories about glory. He told us we were warriors of God. I believed everything. Why wouldn't I? It was all I ever heard. But sometimes, late at night, I felt empty. I prayed harder. I read more Quran. I thought maybe I wasn't faithful enough. Maybe I wasn't angry enough. Maybe I needed to try harder. The emptiness never went away. It grew, like a hole in my chest that nothing could fill. When I turned 15, Omar joined a militia. He came home with new friends. They talked about real fighting. They talked about real enemies. They talked about Christians hiding in our city. They said Christians were spreading lies. They said Christians were trying to convert our children. They said Christians needed to be stopped. Omar's eyes changed. They became harder, colder, but also more alive, like he had found his purpose. I wanted that. I wanted to feel alive. I wanted to feel important. I wanted to matter. So I listened. I learned. I prepared. The hole in my chest grew deeper, but I told myself it would be filled soon, when I became a real warrior, when I found my purpose, when I started hunting the enemies of God. I was wrong about many things, but I wouldn't learn that for many years. By 17, my world had walls I couldn't see, but they were real. They were made of rules. They were made of fear. They were made of hate. Every morning started the same way. Prayer before dawn. Wash exactly like my father taught me. Face Mecca. Recite the words. Don't think, just obey. Breakfast was silent. My mother served. My father read religious texts. Omar cleaned his weapons. I watched and learned. The neighborhood watched us too. Everyone watched everyone. Mrs. Fatima next door counted how many times we went to mosque. Mr. Hassan across the street noted who visited our house. The imam knew which families were truly faithful. You couldn't be different. You couldn't ask questions. You couldn't be weak. I remember the day they brought Ahmed back. Ahmed was my age. He had been caught talking to a Christian girl at the market. Just talking. Nothing more. They made an example of him. In front of everyone. His own father held him down while they beat him. They said it was for his own good. They said it was to save his soul. Ahmed never looked at anyone the same way again. His spirit was broken. But he was safe now. Safe from temptation. Safe from questions. I learned that day. Questions were dangerous. Curiosity was dangerous. Friendship with the wrong people was dangerous. So I stopped asking why. I stopped wondering about the Christians I saw in the market. I stopped thinking about the fear in their eyes when they saw us coming. Instead, I memorized more Quran. I trained harder with Omar. I practiced shooting. I practiced fighting. I practiced hating. The militia recruited me officially that summer. They called it an honor. They said I was chosen. They said I had potential. My father was proud. My mother cried with joy. Omar embraced me like a brother in arms, but the emptiness inside me grew larger. It was like a prison cell in my chest. Every day the walls got smaller. Every day it was harder to breathe. I told myself this was normal. I told myself all warriors felt this way. I told myself it would pass when I proved myself in battle. The training was brutal. We learned to kill quickly. We learned to kill quietly. We learned to kill without emotion. They said emotion made you weak. They said mercy made you useless. We studied our enemies. Christians were the worst, they said. Christians were liars and deceivers. Christians pretended to love everyone, but they really wanted to destroy Islam. Christians were soft and weak, but also dangerous and cunning. We watched videos of Christian persecution. We cheered when churches burned. We celebrated when missionaries were captured. We learned to see them as less than human. The hole in my chest became a chasm, but I filled it with purpose. I filled it with mission. I filled it with the promise of paradise. I was ready to hunt. I was ready to kill. I was ready to serve Allah, or so I thought. At 19, I killed my first Christian. His name was David. He was hiding in a basement with his family. We found them during a raid. I expected to feel victorious. I expected to feel closer to God. I expected the emptiness to finally go away. Instead, I felt nothing. Then I felt sick. David had a son, maybe 8 years old. The boy cried when his father died. The sound stayed in my head for weeks. Even when I prayed, even when I slept, my commanders celebrated. They said I was becoming a true warrior. They said Allah was pleased with me. They said I was earning my place in paradise. But paradise felt further away than ever. I started having dreams. Not good dreams. Not the dreams of virgins and rivers of honey they promised us. Dark dreams. Dreams where I was the one being hunted. Dreams where I was the one crying for mercy. I prayed more. I read more Quran. I fasted longer. Nothing helped. The hunger inside me was getting worse. Not hunger for food. Hunger for something I couldn't name. Something that all the prayers and all the fighting couldn't fill. My third kill was a woman named Sarah. She was a teacher at an underground Christian school. We caught her with illegal Bibles. In Arabic. She was trying to convert Muslim children. Before we executed her, she looked at me. She wasn't angry. She wasn't afraid. She was sad. For me, I could see it in her eyes. She was sad for me. She said something before she died. I couldn't hear all of it, but I heard one word clearly. Jesus. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing her eyes. I kept hearing that name, Jesus. Why would she say that name when she was about to die? Why wasn't she cursing us? Why wasn't she begging? I asked Omar about it. He laughed. He said Christians were weak and foolish. He said they believed lies about a false prophet. He said their weakness made them easy to kill. But Sarah hadn't seemed weak. She had seemed peaceful, like she knew something I didn't know. By 22, I had killed 12 Christians. Each one was different. Each one reacted differently. But many of them had the same look in their eyes, the same peace, the same sadness for us. Some of them prayed before they died, but not to Allah. They prayed to Jesus. They asked him to forgive us. They asked him to save us. I started to wonder, what if they knew something we didn't? What if their God actually heard them? What if their peace came from somewhere real? These thoughts were dangerous. I knew that. I pushed them away. I trained harder. I killed more efficiently. I rose in the ranks. But the hunger grew. It was eating me from the inside. I was becoming successful. I was becoming respected. I was becoming everything I was supposed to be. And I had never felt more empty, more lost, more desperate for something real. The hole in my chest wasn't just empty anymore. It was screaming. Screaming for something I couldn't understand, something I couldn't name, something I wasn't allowed to want. In 2022, everything changed. I was 27, experienced, trusted. They gave me the assignment I had been waiting for. ISIS needed someone reliable for a special mission in Syria. There was a house in a small village near Aleppo. Christians were meeting there secretly, planning, organizing, spreading their poison. They had to be stopped. I was chosen to lead a small team, 3 other fighters, all young, all eager, all hungry for glory. The plan was simple. Surround the house during their evening meeting, kill everyone inside. Leave no witnesses. Send a message to other Christians in the region. I felt nothing when they briefed me, no excitement, no anger, just emptiness. But I accepted the mission. It was my duty. It was what I was trained for. We traveled at night, through desert roads, past abandoned villages destroyed by war. The landscape looked like the end of the world. Maybe it was. We were 3 hours from the target when the sandstorm hit. It came from nowhere. The sky turned brown. The wind howled like demons. We couldn't see 5 feet ahead. Our driver had to stop. We found shelter behind some rocks. The storm was too strong to continue. We would have to wait. I told the others to rest. I walked away from them to pray, to ask Allah for success in our mission, to ask for strength to kill his enemies. I knelt facing Mecca. I began the familiar words. But something was wrong. The words felt empty. They tasted like dust in my mouth. The storm was getting worse. The sand was cutting my face, but I kept praying. I kept reciting. I kept trying to feel something. Then the wind stopped. Completely. In an instant, the air became perfectly still. But the sky was still dark, darker than before, like all the light in the world had been turned off. I opened my eyes, and I saw him, a figure standing in front of me, surrounded by light so bright I should have been blinded. But I could see him clearly, more clearly than I had ever seen anything. He was tall. His face was kind but strong. His eyes were deep, ancient, full of love and authority and sadness. I tried to stand. I tried to reach for my weapon, but my body wouldn't move. My arms felt like stone. My legs wouldn't obey me. He spoke. His voice was quiet, but it filled everything. The desert, the sky, my heart, my empty, screaming heart. Why do you persecute me? Khalid. I tried to answer. I tried to say I didn't know him. I tried to say I served Allah. But no words came out. I am Jesus. Those 2 words hit me like bullets. But instead of pain, they brought something I had never felt before. Recognition. Like seeing someone I had been searching for my whole life without knowing it. My heart was pounding. Not with fear, with something else. Something that felt like coming home. I know what you have done. I know what you are planning to do. But I love you, Khalid. I have always loved you. The light grew brighter. But it didn't hurt. It was warm. It was gentle. It was everything I had been hungry for. I died for you too. Then he was gone. The storm returned. The darkness returned. But something inside me had changed forever. I had met the light, and I would never be the same. I walked back to my team in a daze. They were arguing about the storm, complaining about the delay, planning how to make up time. I couldn't speak. I couldn't think clearly. All I could see were those eyes. All I could hear was that voice. I love you, Khaled. Commander, are you all right? Hassan, the youngest fighter, was staring at me. You look sick. I nodded. The storm. The dust. I need water. But it wasn't the storm. It was Jesus. The name that I had been taught to hate was burning in my heart like a fire. But it wasn't destroying me. It was warming me, filling the emptiness I had carried for so long. We reached the village at dawn. The house was small, white walls, blue door, chickens in the yard. It looked innocent, peaceful. My team was ready, weapons loaded, eyes sharp, waiting for my signal. I raised my hand, then I stopped. Inside that house were people like David, like Sarah, people who knew something I was just beginning to understand. People who had the peace I had seen in dying eyes. People Jesus loved. Commander, Hassan whispered, what are we waiting for? I lowered my hand. We are bought. Too many variables. Too risky. My team looked confused. We had done more dangerous missions with less preparation, but they obeyed. We were trained to follow orders without question. We returned to base. I reported technical difficulties, equipment failure, weather delays. My superiors were disappointed but not suspicious. Not yet. But I was falling apart inside. Everything I believed was crumbling. Everything I had built my life on felt like lies. For weeks, I couldn't eat properly, couldn't sleep, couldn't pray to Allah anymore. When I tried, all I could think about was Jesus, his face, his voice, his impossible love. I started having dreams, not nightmares this time. Dreams where I was sitting with him. Dreams where he was teaching me things. Dreams where I felt peace for the first time in my life. Omar noticed first. You're different, Khaled. Distant. What's wrong? I lied. I said I was tired. I said the mission had been stressful. I said I needed rest, but Omar knew me too well. He started watching me, following me, asking questions. Then my father got involved, and the imam. They called me to the mosque for a private meeting. "Some people are worried about you," the imam said. His eyes were cold, calculating. "They say you've been asking strange questions. They say you seem troubled." I tried to deny it, but they had been watching. They had been listening. They knew I was different. "Have you been exposed to Christian propaganda?" my father asked. His voice was hard. "Have you been reading their books, listening to their lies?" I said no, but my voice shook, my hands trembled. They could see my weakness. "We think you need guidance," the imam continued. "Special prayer, special study, to cleanse your mind of whatever poison has entered it." They assigned watchers to me, brothers who followed me everywhere, brothers who reported everything I did, everything I said, everyone I talked to. I was a prisoner in my own life, but the prison walls were made of people who claimed to love me, people who wanted to save my soul, people who would kill me if they knew the truth, because I was changing. Every day the love of Jesus grew stronger in my heart. Every day the hate I had carried for so long grew weaker. But I couldn't tell anyone. I couldn't trust anyone. I was completely alone, except I wasn't alone. Jesus was with me, in my dreams, in my prayers. In the quiet moments when no one was watching, he was preparing me for something that would cost me everything. But for the first time in my life, I was ready to pay any price. Because I had found what I was looking for. I had found love. 3 months after the vision, I couldn't pretend anymore. The love of Jesus was too strong. The truth was too clear. The old life was choking me to death. My watchers were getting suspicious. I had stopped participating in raids. I made excuses. I claimed illness. I avoided violence whenever possible. But they were running out of patience. And I was running out of time. One night, Omar confronted me alone. We were sitting in his car after evening prayers. The mosque was empty. The streets were quiet. "I know what's happening to you," he said. His voice was sad, disappointed. "You're being deceived by the enemy." I didn't answer. What could I say? The Christians got to you somehow. Maybe through dreams, maybe through their magic. But you're not yourself anymore. He was right. I wasn't myself anymore. I was becoming who I was meant to be. "I can help you," Omar continued. "We can fix this. But you have to trust me. You have to let me help you fight this." I looked at my brother, my hero, the man who had taught me to hate, who had trained me to kill, who loved me in the only way he knew how. "I can't fight it anymore, Omar," I whispered. "I don't want to fight it anymore." His face changed, from concern to horror, from love to disgust. "You're lost," he said. "You're damned. And if you don't come back to Allah, I'll have to choose between my brother and my God." I knew what that meant. I had seen it before. Family members who turned in relatives for apostasy, love that became violence when faith was threatened. That night I prayed to Jesus for the first time, really prayed, not just listening or dreaming, actually speaking to him. "I don't know how to do this," I said. "I don't know how to leave everything behind, but I can't live this lie anymore. If you want me, I'm yours." The peace that came was instant, complete, like diving into cool water after walking through fire. I knew I had to leave. That night, before morning prayers, before my watchers came for me, I packed nothing, just the clothes I was wearing, some money I had hidden, and a heart full of hope and terror. I walked through the desert for 2 days, heading north toward the Syrian border, eating nothing, drinking from dirty streams, following a pull in my heart that I couldn't explain. On the 3rd day, I found him, an old man selling bread in a tiny village. Something about him was different. His eyes were peaceful, like Sarah's eyes, like David's eyes. I approached carefully. "Are you a Christian?" I whispered. He studied my face, looked at my clothes, probably recognized the signs of my old life. "And why do you ask?" he said quietly. "Because I think Jesus is calling me." His eyes filled with tears. He looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then he nodded. "My name is Youssef," he said. "Come with me." He took me to a hidden basement under his shop. Other Christians were there, men and women who had lost everything for their faith, but their faces were full of joy. Yusef baptized me that night, in an old cistern behind his house, under the stars, with tears streaming down both our faces. As the water covered my head, I felt something break inside me. All the hate, all the anger, all the emptiness, it was washed away. When I came up, I was new, I was free, I was his. "Welcome to the family, Brother Khaled," Yusef said. For the first time in my life, I knew who I was. I knew where I belonged. I knew why I was alive. I belonged to Jesus, and nothing would ever be the same again. That was 3 years ago. I am still running, I am still hiding, but I am no longer empty. Every day I wake up knowing I am loved, not because of what I do, not because of how many prayers I say, not because of who I kill, but because Jesus chose me, even when I was his enemy. I live simply now, I work with my hands, I help other refugees when I can, I share my story carefully, quietly, with people who are ready to hear it. Sometimes I meet other former fighters, men who are tired of the killing, men who are hungry for peace. I tell them about the light, about the love that changed everything. Some listen, some don't. But I plant seeds, the same way seeds were planted in my heart through the peace I saw in dying Christians. My family has disowned me. Omar put a price on my head. My mother weeps for my soul. They all believe I am damned, but I have a new family now. Brothers and sisters who understand, who have paid the same price, who know the same joy. The hole in my chest is gone, filled with something better than paradise, filled with the presence of Jesus, with his love, with his peace that makes no sense but never leaves. I still have nightmares sometimes about the people I killed, about the families I destroyed, about the children I made orphans. But Jesus forgives me, completely, fully, and he is teaching me to forgive myself. The woman named Sarah, the man named David, all the others, I will see them again, not as their killer, but as their brother. Jesus promised me that I used to hunt Christians. Now I am one. I used to serve death. Now I serve life. My old friends think I am weak. They think love is weakness. They think mercy is failure. They are wrong. Love is the strongest force in the universe, strong enough to stop a terrorist in the desert, strong enough to change a heart full of hate, strong enough to save even me. If you are Muslim and you are listening to this, know that Jesus loves you too. He appears to people like us, people who seem too far gone, people who have done terrible things, people who think they are beyond hope. He appeared to me when I was on my way to kill his people. He can appear to you too. Don't be afraid of him. Don't be afraid of his love. It won't destroy you. It will complete you. Pray for me. Pray for those who are still hunting Christians. Pray for those who think hate is holy. Pray that they will meet the light like I did. Pray that they will discover what I discovered, that Jesus doesn't want enemies, he wants children, and he is still calling them home. My name is Khaled. I was a hunter of Christians. Now I am a follower of Christ. Jesus found me in the darkness. He can find you too. Trust him. He loves you more than you can imagine.